Hello everyone. Today we are going to read P.B. Shelley's very famous poem Ozymandias. It's a short poem, a sonnet with a powerful message which is relevant at all times. It talks about the fleeting nature of power by walking us through the deserts of Egypt. Let's begin this journey. So before moving on to the poem, let us learn a little bit about our author, P.B. Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley. The English Romantic poet P.B. Shelley was born on August 4th, 1792 in Sussex, England as the eldest son of Timothy and Elizabeth Shelley. He had one brother and four sisters. Shelley was educated at Sion House Academy and then at the famous Eton College during the time 1804 to 1810. He soon began writing poetry while at Eton College, but his first publication was a Gothic novel, Setrosi, published in 1810. In 1813, he published his first major poem, Queen Mab. Shelley was known for his radical nature in his poetry as well as in his political and social views. Even though as a writer, he did not achieve fame during his lifetime, but recognition for his achievements in poetry grew steadily following his death. P.B. Shelley died in a boating accident in 1822 at the age of 29. So famous American literary critic Harold Bloom once described P.B. Shelley as a superb craftsman, a lyric poet without a rival, and surely one of the most advanced skeptical intellects ever to write a poem. So his contribution to literature, especially to poetry, is immense and it is always recognized worldwide. Shelley's best-known works include Ozymandias, Ode to the West Wind, To a Skylark, the political ballad The Mask of Anarchy, the verse drama The Cenci, long poems such as Alastor or The Spirit of Solitude, Julian and Medallo, Adone, Prometheus Unbound. So all these works are really famous works of P.B. Shelley and was included in many school and college university curriculum as well. So you have to be familiar with at least one or two of P.B. Shelley's poem to experience the beauty of his language, to experience the beauty of poetry that he had given to humankind. When we talk about Shelley, it is significant that we need to be familiar with the Romanticism movement as well. Romanticism covers a range of developments in art, literature, music, and philosophy spanning the late 18th and early 19th centuries. The emphasis on the importance of the individual and the prominence on the importance of expressing authentic personal feelings ruled the Romantic movement's priorities. The Romantic writers embraced freedom and revolution in their art and politics. Cultivation of individualism, reverence for the natural world, idealism, physical and emotional passion, and an interest in the mystic and supernatural, simple and commonly used natural language were some among the prominent features of the Romantic movement in English literature. So from the features itself, it is pretty much clear that Romantic movement favored individualism. The power of individual emotions and feelings ruled Romantic movement. And obviously, the famous Romantic poets, all these poets that we are familiar of, their poems are like we have been studying all their poems from school level itself. So all the Romantic poets, if we examine their poetry really close, really well, then we will be able to understand that they gave prominence to individual, they gave prominence to nature, they gave prominence to simple ordinary language that we will be able to understand, we will be able to relate to. So the famous Romantic poets include William Blake, William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Lord Byron, John Keats, and our own Percy Bysshe Shelley. Let us see what our poem is. You may be wondering what this title is, Ozymandias, right? So let's find out. So I'll read this poem once. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, A shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lawn and level sands stretch far away. It's a beautiful poem, right? It's very simple. We'll get to know what it is about. There is one traveler who's explaining about an image, about a statue that he had witnessed in the desert. He's explaining, he's describing that statue with its head half sunk, a shattered visage, frown and wrinkled lip, two vast and trunkless legs. It is standing upright in the desert, right? So it's clear that he's talking about a statue, and there is a description about an inscription on the pedestal of this statue, which says that my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, see mighty and despair. And also when we analyze the structure of this poem, it is very clear that the poet is using enjambment. We are all familiar with the poetic device enjambment, which means run-on lines, because it's like, it looks like continuation. One line is continuing to the next line, right? Because I met a traveler from an antique land who said, see, every line is repeating, it's continuing to the subsequent line, which means that it's a poetic device called enjambment, which means run-on lines. So this is the poem Ozymandias. And before that, we have to understand what is the background of the poem. So what is the title refers to? So the title Ozymandias, it's an alternate name of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II. He's often regarded as the greatest, most celebrated, and most powerful pharaoh of the powerful period of ancient Egypt. The real statue of Ramses II is a 3,200-year-old figure depicting him standing. It was discovered in 1820 near Memphis, Egypt, made out of red granite. The statue was found broken in 6 pieces. In 1955, the statue was restored to its full height of 11 meters and erected on a 3-meter pedestal at the edge of a fountain. It was stabilized by iron bars inside the body. So let's see. See, here you can see the statue with its head sunken on the ground and the trunkless legs standing upright. Okay, so there should be an inscription as well. So this is an image of Ozymandias, the statue, which is broken in 2 pieces with its head sunken on the ground. It is desert, obviously, and 2 trunkless legs are standing upright in the desert. And any traveler who is passing by will be wondering what happened to the statue, right? So what is this poem about? Is it just about the statue being fallen down on the desert? So when we analyze the structure of the poem, we can clearly say that it is an outstanding political sonnet. Sonnet, what is sonnet? A poem of 14 lines. Here we have first 8 lines form an octave and the following 6 lines form a sestet. Ozymandias, it's a metaphor for the ephemeral nature of political power. What is ephemeral? It means short-lived or momentary, right? The poem describes the ruins of an ancient king's statue in a foreign desert. What remains of the statue are 2 vast stone legs standing upright and a head half buried in sand. A boastful inscription is visible there, describing the ruler as the King of Kings, whose mighty achievements invoke awe and despair in all who behold them. The inscription stands in ironic contrast to the dilapidated reality of the statue, decrepit reality of the statue, dilapidated reality of the statue. So power is transient, it is short-lived. We can never expect power or money to outlive art. Art remains forever, even when it is not written anywhere. We have the oral literatures, for example, which pass on for generations. So art lives forever, unlike the power or money or whatever wealth that one holds. Our writer, P.B. Shelley, intends to write the poem to put forward the theme of transience of power and permanence of art to his readers. The poem thus suggests that both great rulers and their kingdoms will fall to the sands of time, unlike art, which will remain forever. And when we examine the literary techniques, it include metaphor, because Ozymandias metaphorically represents power, legacy, and command. There is personification, the lifeless statue of Ozymandias. It is referred to as a real person, Ramses II. Imagery is there, a sense of sight is evoked through several images like two vast and trunkless legs, shattered face, wrinkled lip, and desert itself. And irony, it is really ironic to present the statue of Ozymandias because the description presents him as mighty, great, and fierce king, but in reality, there is nothing that remains but a broken, lifeless statue in the desert. So this is about the poem Ozymandias. Hope this video helps you in understanding the lesson in a deeper sense. Thank you all.